owes someone a lot of money, and she is working to repay her debts. Her question is, what if the person dies suddenly and she is unable to settle her debts before that person dies? Will there be any karmic consequence in this?
Well, if the intention to repay there, that's the best thing, that's the right thing, because if you borrow money from someone, it's appropriate, you pay it back. If that person dies before you finish, then you see what debt is still left to pay, and maybe they have children or descendants. They might have a will, who would receive their property, who receives their money in forms of inheritance, and so you may, out of honesty and sense of integrity, you might say, well, I was going to pay this person, mum or dad or someone, money. Now they're gone, but you are their inheritors. You will inherit their property and the things from their will. So maybe you have to see if you can find who the next person to finish paying off. Talk to them. I mean, maybe they'll say, oh, it doesn't matter, mum and dad died, whoever's died, maybe we'll just call it quits or something. Or maybe they say, no, you still owe this money, you should pay it. I don't know, it depends on the situation. But if you have that sense of responsibility for a debt you owe and then the person dies, it doesn't mean to say that debt has just disappeared. It means the person is gone from this world, but there may be someone else around. They may have people who depend on them, children or something. So that's probably what I would do, is I would try and find out who is their we say next of kin. I mean, these are legal matters as well. I'm not a lawyer, but it's more like your sense of that if you owe somebody and you know you owe them, even if they've died, you still owe them in that sense. So you might see what you can do to repay or make amends for that debt, if you can.
Thank you very much. We shall convey the message.
The Buddha said one of the biggest happinesses in life is being free from debt. Because when you have a debt, it's like a burden hanging over you. It's like, because you take the money, you should be willing to pay it back. And if you don't, well, that's breaking the law. And also you and yourself, you know that something is not right. You should have paid it back. And some people even do things like they owe a debt, but then the person dies, so they give the money, the equivalent of the debt, to charity or somebody else in the name of the person. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying sometimes people do that out of respect, sense of responsibility. But the debt is a debt. You can't hide that fact from the past. We've made these debts.
Not about last night, you mentioned like taking care of parents. If you send your parents to nursing home, does that mean that you're not really fulfilling your duties?
Not necessarily. Maybe that's a better way. If you are struggling on your own and they need more care, as they get weaker, maybe they get ill, they fall over and things happen, maybe they'll get better care in the care home. And you can still be involved. You may have to pay for it. You may have to visit them as much as you can to provide warmth and love and check that they're okay. But maybe the care home can do some things you can't do. So like, depending on what level of care, but care homes often they have an alarm system. So if your mum or dad, something goes wrong in the middle of the night, the alarm goes and they can come in and pick them up as they've fallen over or attend to them, get the doctor quickly. Sometimes it's slightly better care than at home. But I think it's a kind of case-by-case thing, because often the home environment, even though it's imperfect for care, there's other benefits of being at home. Feel relaxed in your own place, the family is there. So sometimes it's nice to be at home and everyone does their best for care, and maybe you can bring in some nurse, sometimes medical care, bring it into the home. Sometimes that's nice when you're still at home because of the environment. But other times maybe the level of care, they just need more people around 24 hours. And if you're a single child or there's just not many people to help look after them at home, maybe it's safer for them in the care home and you can still visit. So usually I'd say, well, if you're sending your parent to a aged care or care home, find somewhere close by. The best you can do close by, and maybe then you can visit all the time, but you know they can cover when you're not around. You still have nurses or carers there. Maybe that's a good one as well. So I don't think there's a simple answer to this. You have to look at your situation and the person's, the level of care needed, what's available. If someone's in a care home like a long way away and you can only visit them once a month or something, maybe that's harder because then they're just lonely and unhappy. But if it's right around the corner, very close, and it's easy to get to, maybe it's not so bad. You've got some medical help there. See what works. I know one family in Adelaide, actually, we have a monastery there, and their mother, being a good mother, and kids all love mum, but the health level of mum going downhill after she reached 80, just getting weaker and weaker. And they have an aged care facility, a care home, 2 minutes walk from their house. And a nice room came up in there. So it was like, oh, let's just walk there. And we walked, I went to visit them last time I was in Adelaide. And we just walked from the main house to the care home, to the mum's room. We go and visited, gave her some teaching and chanting. Sometimes good things open up when you make merit and you practice the Dhamma. Sometimes good opportunities will arise like that. You have to trust in the good karma you're making and your good intention, and then you see what you can do to help with it.
To a follow-up question concerning sending an elderly relative to a convalescent home. This happened to my family, not my mother, but my second auntie, my mother's older sister, who is 89 years old. And I had to rush to KL and then to Soma to help care for her. She had a stroke. She fell, she had a stroke, and the stroke was an ischemic stroke. It made half her body paralyzed. It affected her speech center, and for some unknown reason, she couldn't communicate. She was like brain fog. I don't know if that's correct, but she was like, couldn't recognize us, couldn't speak. She total personality change. And we took turns to care for her at a public hospital because her daughter couldn't afford a private medical care for her. And then we found out that the hospital admin, they have a policy. If you are above, 75 or above 80 years old, they will automatically DNR, do not resuscitate. So we were told, anything happens to her, we are not going to do any CPR. Fortunately, she didn't need CPR. She recovered enough for my cousin to decide that she had to go to a convalescent home because she was bedridden. She had to be washed, she was clean, and we couldn't cope. And I stayed in Penang, so I had to come back to Penang. And of course, my other relatives are looking after her now. And this home, when she was admitted, they gave my cousin this form to sign also, the DNR. So, my question is, I mean, it didn't happen when I was present because I was always like, very afraid that anything happens. Then they say I cannot resuscitate. Luckily, I didn't, it never happened. But I was very worried. What happens if she had like breathing difficulty, or if she had like, I don't know what other medical emergency, and we are not allowed, or we are not supposed to resuscitate, but that is a decision made by her doctor, not by the patient. So in such situation, in such scenario, what do we do? What do I do? I mean, if it happened, then I was there. If it had happened, it didn't, you see.
Yeah, I think it's hard to generalize. Every family is different. Every situation, every individual is different. To be honest, if you look at it from the sort of the big picture where you're sort of dispassionate, just looking down, as it were, on every situation, we're all going to die. We have to accept that. And often that's one of the biggest problems is we don't want to die ourselves, we don't want our loved ones to die. So that leads to a lot of anxiety, difficulty in decision making. And of course nowadays sometimes there is more care available, more technology and equipment and systems to help keep someone going. So it's you're balancing between accepting the inevitable that someone is old and going to die, and then you also want them to live as long as they can, if they can. But if somebody is no longer making decisions for themselves, then their quality of life is clearly gone down. If they're unconscious, or they're just unable to, they're confused, or just unable, can't remember anything, whatever. It depends on the person, the level of how ill they are, how serious it is.
But would we take a precept, Anatipata?
No, do not resuscitate. It's not necessarily saying I want to kill someone. It's just saying if they get really weak, really ill, seriously ill, can't breathe or something, I accept that, and that nobody, we just accept this is the inevitable, the end of their life, because it will happen one day in some form or other. And you're just accepting that possibility. And it's not saying you want them to die or that you're making a decision to end their life. You're simply saying, I accept, if it gets to that point, then we won't try to revive them, that's okay, you sign. That's your intention. Because you could say if you keep prolonging someone's life and they can't think, talk, can't communicate, a lot of pain maybe, then what's the point? So like say a lot of monks will say that, if I get to that point, just throw me on the fireplace and burn me up. Because they understand, we die, we have to die at some point. But of course if someone is still able and there's a chance that they may recover, or they're still relatively able to communicate, in some cases you want to try your best every possible way to help them, and including resuscitation. Someone may have a heart attack and then they're resuscitated and they carry on for many years. That happens all the time. So it's hard to generalize. But you can see the point of view of these institutions now. That's the way the world is going. They have to have their legal protection. Yeah. So sometimes that may be okay. It's an imperfect situation. As I said, your intention is never to end someone's life deliberately or intentionally. It's just accepting maybe you'll reach a point where there's nothing more you can do when you accept that. So you're saying, well, if it reaches that point, okay, NDR, we accept you don't need to resuscitate. My father, he used to keep it in his pocket. He wanted that all his life. He died when he was 96. He was quite old. And he had it in his pocket, if something happens, do not resuscitate. That was his choice. He didn't want that, so he had a little card. We never had to use it. He died at home over a few weeks it was a sort of a decline in his health. So we never had to use that, but he had it. So that was his wish. So some people wish for that as well. Others may not. You know. It just depends on the individual. You do the best you can in the situation. If you do know the individual's wishes before they reach the point where they can't speak anymore, if you know what they wanted, well, that's a big factor. Oh, Mum wanted us to do this or not do this. If they can't make a decision themselves, then you want everyone to come together, listen to the doctor's advice, because often the doctors know the best. Not always, but generally they know the state of the body and what can be achieved and what can't. And so you listen to them, and then the family try and make a decision what they think is the best thing to do. As I said, the ultimate is that we all have to die. And it's not always something you can control or manage. You do the best you can. It's an imperfect thing. Some people can't bear to see their relatives in any form of pain. We can't stand it. We look at them and don't feel comfortable. So we want the doctors to give them more and more painkillers. But then the individual is going to like that, just kind of drugged out, unconscious to get rid of the pain. But there's no quality of life anymore. They can't communicate. They're just in a state of being drugged. So, you just take it case by case and try and do the best for the person in that situation, whatever seems appropriate. As I said, I know quite a few monks who said, oh, when I get old and sick, just throw me on the logs and burn. Just accept the fact that we're all impermanent.
What is the significance of putting relics, precious gems in the stupa?
Saying the Buddha is the best, the top. I value the Buddha more than anything else. And so if you have Buddha relics, or it could be Arahanta relics of an enlightened monk or nun or somebody, student of the Buddha, you're saying this is the highest. This is what I worship, this is what I aspire to myself. So everything in the world is secondary, takes second place to that. So wealth in any form is second place to enlightenment. It's not better than or equivalent to enlightenment. Is what I aspire to, it's the best. And so you're just saying, I take the best things of the world, and, gemstones, and gold and diamonds and things, they represent the most beautiful, precious things of the world. Partly it's symbolic. I will offer these to the Buddha, put them in the stupa. I don't need them because I worship the Buddha and I aspire to enlightenment. And gemstones can't get you to enlightenment. In fact, they probably slow you down. Because the more you have, the more greed they'll inspire in you. Yeah, very attached to them. So when you're practicing giving away, you're letting go of a lot of attachment. Often they have a lot of strong emotional attachment. If it's jewelry, something of value, material value, you might have a lot of attachment. So you're going to give this away to worship the Buddha. So often that's really setting your goal on what you value and see as the highest in life. And it's a practical teaching to yourself to let go. So, a lot of people would spend their life trying to collect wealth and get more gemstones or the equivalent in terms of property and money and so on. So to give it away is like, you've really got to work hard to do that. Part of your mind says, hold on to it. Oh no, I've got to keep it. The practice of letting go and also worship. You see, people do this and their practice goes very far when they can do this. They may take a while to get to the point where they're ready to do something like that. But when they do, it's like their mind knows how to let go in a very powerful, very complete way. So often their meditation improves and they get a lot of joy and their meditation becomes very very concentrated and we get a lot of insight and wisdom. One thing leads to another. So it's not a simple act in isolation. I offer these gemstones to worship the Buddha. If you go on and practice meditation, your meditation will almost certainly improve. And it's also inspiring for others. Sometimes we have these ceremonies, either making a Buddha statue, a bronze one where they melt metal together to form the statue, or build a chedi and install the relics with various precious things. It's inspiring. You see people offer, there's some important jewelry they've had for a long time they received from their grandmother or on their wedding day, or they take off their wedding ring and offer to the Buddha, make it into a Buddha statue and put it in the chedi. People are saying, even though my wedding is important and my family wealth and things are important, I'm going to offer them to the Buddha, the most important thing, the most valuable thing. When people don't have faith in Buddhism, what do? When they find the chedi, over history, say in India, people, other religions or with other beliefs, they come, they find the chedi, they're not very interested in the relics because they're just bones. They want the gemstones because the mind is in a different realm. They're just thinking, oh, I can get rich, I'll get these bits of jewelry or the gemstones and I can go and make some money. They're thinking like that, so they're still stuck in the world. When you offer these things, your mind is going out of the world, going to a higher place.
Concerning the building of chedi, is it accepted, generally accepted, that when the chedi is being constructed in honor of the living master, is it right? Does that indicate that the Ajahn is already Arahat maybe, or in the Arya?
Depends, could do. Depends. Generally build chedis for the Buddha, for relics of the Buddha, or for a master who is considered to be enlightened and passed away. So if the master is still alive, sometimes they do it in preparation for later. When the master passes away, they cremate it, then they have somewhere to store the bones. Depends what the intention of the people building the chedi is. You have to ask them. So each temple, each place might be slightly different. Generally, therefore, installing, enshrining relics of the Buddha. Ajahn Chah, we built a chedi for him after he died. So it's actually a mad rush. Before Chah died, and we had a location chosen for the chedi, but we haven't built it. And then we said we'll cremate him in 1 year's time after his death. 16th of January to 16th of January, had exactly 1 year to prepare for his cremation. So there's this mad rush, we've got to build the chedi in 1 year, and it was done with a lot of sacrifice, lots and lots of volunteers, monks, nuns, laymen, lay women coming from all over the place every day, and sometimes working 24 hours a day. Works like pouring concrete at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. People working in large groups of people from the army and the air force, and villagers, and people, volunteers all around the world, people coming from overseas, all kinds of people coming to get it done. So somebody said, well, we should have done this a bit earlier, then it wouldn't be such a mad rush, but everything that goes on its own causes and conditions. Sometimes it's nice to do a mad rush, you've got a target, a goal, everyone comes together, and that's quite a nice thing as well. Sometimes better to do it ahead of time maybe. Chedis, they have one role in Buddhism. They tend to be built to last, and so sometimes they last for hundreds of years. And you can always rebuild them. Sometimes we renovate and rebuild a chedi. So it's a real focal point. Often in Thailand and Burma and places, they often have on a hill or somewhere that's quite a prominent position. So everyone sees the Chedi over and over again, and it's just a small reminder of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha. It can have quite a good effect on people.
I pledge my dead body and organs to science. So what I understand is after we study or try to transplant the organ or whatever is left in, we will probably dispose of the carcass. But my family, being Chinese, they say, how come no funeral, no wake, no nothing? But I tell them, I really don't care what happens after I'm dead and gone.
But that's the truth, once you're gone, you're gone.
Yeah, so I think
Doesn't matter so much for the one who's gone, because it's just a body.
it is fine. There's no funeral, nothing, right?
But, even if you give your body to science, you can still have some kind of memorial service. Your children and your family can still have some kind of event to mark your life, remember your life, even if there's no cremation or immediate cremation. You can still do things. It's not like absolutely nothing happens. They can come together to have a memorial for you, and they can do some dharma in your name. And that would be a good thing for you to advise them. You say, look, when I die, I don't need money, obviously I'm gone. And you don't need to spend a lot of money on a funeral because it could be quite expensive. Take this money and do something really useful with it. Help build a chedi, or offer to a useful charity that you're inspired by. You could even suggest, I would suggest offering money to a hospital or orphanage or something to help those who are in need, poor people somewhere, or a temple where they have a project to build something. Please offer any donations at my funeral to this cause. You can sort of encourage that, so that there's still something that they can focus on after you're gone, because they're going to be feeling like we should do something for Mum. But it doesn't have to be an actual cremation of your body if you've given your body to science. That's your choice. And your wish is out of compassion to provide a way for maybe medical students to learn, or even organ donation, some people do. You can do that with your intention, that's your intention. But then your family can do something else in your name to remember you. So do some charity in your name.
That's what's missing in their mind is there's no funeral ceremony, there's no wake, no nothing.
Yeah, well, no wake means good, then you don't have all these people sitting down playing cards or drinking. A lot of wakes, not that. A lot of unwholesome stuff going on. If it's not cards, it's mahjong or something. So you're kind of trying to make it as Buddhist and beneficial as you can. So you can, like you say, they can still have a memorial, some kind of event. You go to a temple, invite monks to give a talk, meditation, chanting, offerings. You can do all that for Mum even without a physical body. The more important is the mind, isn't it? So just encouraging them to use the occasion to do something skillful. A lot of things are like that, even before death. A lot of our rituals, chengming and different kinds of things with ancestors and that. There's a lot of rituals which don't do much. Bring people together, which maybe can be a good thing, but they don't really do much. You could have chengming and do a meditation retreat. Keep the 8 precepts, do a dana offering, sangha dana offering. It might be more useful. Because the worldly sort of things we tend to, there's always food and entertainment. Sometimes we still do sacrifices in some places. Sacrifice a pig or a chicken or something. Sometimes people they're not thinking what is the best thing to do on this occasion.
Because my instruction is very simple. Even if they have the ashes, my ashes on the matter, I say just scatter it wherever on whichever grass or tree that you think needs the fertilizer.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe a good thing to do is write it down what you think is the appropriate thing after you've gone, and they know what you want.
And brief them.
Yeah, or brief them, yeah.
Just that it is not the normal way of,
Because what you see in many families after mum or dad is gone, then the children and relatives, siblings, they're all arguing. We should do this, we should do that. And sometimes, quite a lot of argument, discussion, nobody knows what the right thing, some bad feelings sometimes. So if you can give some guidance of what you think is appropriate, and then even write it down, even short, and give it to someone trusted to keep, and at least they know what you want.
and brief them.
Okay.
I have read your autobiography and was just curious. Sometimes during that era where you all practice in the jungles, in the isolated areas, okay? So when the abbot wants to deliver a message and to have instruct the disciples to come for gathering, and during that time you all don't have handphones and whatever, and yet you are so many disciples scattered in the forest. So how do they really able to get all those disciples to come and meet and study?
Sometimes it takes time, and not nowadays, I think because everywhere now there's internet and phones and everything. But in the old days, sometimes it would take time. We used to use letters. So letters could take weeks before it gets to you. If you're staying in some cave or on some mountain top, before you get that letter, well, one thing, maybe you never get the letter. Or if you get it, it may be many weeks of going from one person to another, from a monk to a lay person to another. Sometimes the messages would take a while. Not always, but sometimes. So yeah, it was a different era, so expectations were different. If someone went off, you just didn't know when you see them again, or how to contact them. Maybe you don't know, but you didn't expect it because you knew there's no choice to that. I was once in the forest, miles from anywhere, and I had a very strong vision in my meditation that one senior monk I knew died. It was just a vision. So like, is it true, or is it? Because sometimes you have a vision like that. It doesn't mean to say the person's dying. Maybe they're going to die or something. But I had this vision, so how can I contact the monastery? So I had to walk a few kilometers. And I found a park ranger because I was staying in a national park. So I had to go and look for the park ranger. If you're on foot, it takes ages, hours to find the person. Walking around, you find them, and then I said, I need to make a phone call to the monastery, because the monastery had a phone. This is before mobile phone, but the monastery had a landline, to check on something important. Can you help me? So he drove me in his little truck to a public phone box, and he stood there and he put a coin in the phone, and I rang, and I said, this monk, his name was Lumpur Chan. I said, Lumpur Chan, has he passed away? And they said, yeah, we got the news last night, he passed away. So I said, I better make arrangements to return earlier. I wasn't planning to go back to the monastery, but I wanted to go to his funeral. So I made a plan to go back. So you just did, things were harder, but you could still do things. You could still get a letter. I get letters from home in England, where I was brought up and born, from my family. It might take a month before I get it. So you still got letters, but it's just slow. So your mindset is different because you're expecting things to be slow. Now everyone is impatient, so if you can't get someone, you say, where are they? Why don't they turn their phone on? Why aren't they picking up? Everyone now gets very frustrated because we're so used to instant communication. In the old days, you didn't get so frustrated because you didn't expect anything. And you could use it to your advantage. You could hide. So sometimes when you're a young monk, you just kind of quietly hide away, and you know no one can get you. So it's like, oh, okay, I can do more meditation. Like in the old days, I mean, before my time, monks want to go and see Luang Por Man or Luang Por Chai in the early days. They want to see the teacher to ask some questions and receive some teachings. You might have to walk for weeks to get there. So you expected that. You may not even find. Like Luang Por Chai went looking for Luang Por Man. It took him months before he found it. Many other teachers the same. They want to find Luang Por Man because Luang Por Man was quite reclusive and go to different remote forests. You never quite knew where he was. You could go to a village and they say, oh yeah, he was here 3 months ago, he's over there on that mountain, and he's over there. And some monk starts wandering off to some other mountain, gets there and they say, oh yeah, he was here 2 months ago, now he's gone over there. So they could take months before they find him, and maybe they never even found it. So it's a different era. Now the expectations are different because we have so much communication. You might say it's not so much fun. People think, oh, it's convenient having phones and internet and everything. But when there weren't these things, maybe life was a bit more fun because there's more uncertainty. It's inconvenient, but it could be more exciting in that sense. You just don't know what's going to happen and how things are.
In this particular lifetime, we can't make it into Arya Buddha. How do we ensure that at least we are safely secure as a free follower?
Well, first of all, establish your faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. You take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha every day. Whether you say it, or think it, or just make that intention. Every day. This is why we have a Buddha statue. We do puja, we do meditation, and we offer things to monks, and all the different activities we do are to reinforce our faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, making that central to our life. And that gives us a whole set of values and views on what is right and wrong, good and bad in life, what is important, what is not important. So even though you haven't finished, you haven't reached Nibbana yet, your aspiration is Nibbana, to practice for purifying your mind. If you think about it, who wouldn't do that? If Nibbana is complete freedom from any stress, any suffering, any pain, who wouldn't want that? But we forget. Because the refuge is not established clearly, we forget. And so we get lost in our emotions and work and family and other events. So we're always forgetting the Buddha, forgetting the Dhamma and Sangha. So we have to keep coming back to that every day. And so we practice. We do different things to help make Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha central. Look after our minds. We say worship. You put the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha at the highest in your life, in your mind. And you can still, even though you're a lay person and you have family and job and other things going on, you can still have the mind of a monk or a nun inside. This is the important thing, to practice the Dhamma, to abandon greed, anger, delusion, all my attachments that cause suffering. That's my goal. And you can still look after your family, and you go to work, and you still interact with society, but you have this as your goal. Three refuge, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. It leads on to like 5 precepts. What is the basis of practicing Buddhism? 5 precepts. You start there. To keep the 5 precepts, you need to practice mindfulness of your speech, your actions, and then the intention behind them. Every day, ask yourself at least once a day, am I keeping the 5 precepts today? You might have the thought to kill, to steal, sexual misconduct, to lie, or abuse, or to drink. You have the thought come up, but you consciously say, no, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to kill this mosquito, I'm not going to do this, not going to do that. So every day you have a reflection on your behavior. You start there with the 5 precepts. And your whole life is, even though you're doing jobs and family and other things, you're also thinking about the quality of your mind, your state of mind. And you're cultivating wholesome states of mind, skillful states of mind. Or are you letting greed, anger, delusion run your mind, be there all the time, grumbling, complaining, greedy, unhappy in different ways? This is where you start to also develop meditation, mindfulness, insight, understanding. It comes out, starts with the precepts. Easy.
So as to the 5 precepts on the 4th one, on speech, if we just read it says, no, this is to refrain from saying that what is not true, which is
Yeah.
lying. So, and that versus the more evil part, the speech part, which has got harsh speech and all that. So,
Really it comes out of that. So the Eightfold Path is one description, a little bit more complete. Really what you need is right view, samadhi. You see at the beginning of Noble Eightfold Path. Where do you get right view from? Listening to the Dhamma, respecting the Dhamma. Then you start thinking in terms of what is good karma, bad karma. Which leads on to, what am I saying? Is it coming from good intention or bad intention? And so, simply saying lying, full speech, I refrain from full speech. It's a good start, but as you become more aware, you realize there's little acts of unwholesome karma in our speech, maybe when we exaggerate, or we say something that's a little bit hurtful. It's not a lie, but it's just said in a way that's not very kind. It could be something true, sometimes when we say it in a way just to put someone down or make them unhappy. We can use coarse speech, or we do also spend a lot of time in what we call sampapalapa, the 4th kind of wrong speech, which is idle chatter, useless chatter. Talking about all kinds of things that we don't really need to talk about, which don't help anyone and just make us less mindful, and other people may be less mindful. The sort of things that are coming up in your mind when you meditate. When you meditate, you're seeing the karma, the result of all this previous useless chatter that we've had through our life. When you meditate, it's all coming up, isn't it? It's the mind that is just chattering away. Blah, 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 blah. Why can't I be peaceful in my meditation? Because the mind keeps going blah, 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 all the time. A lot of it is previous unskillful speech that we didn't need to say, but we did, and we sort of sent it out to other people. Now it's coming up in our mind because the intention has been stored up over and over again in the mind. So if you become more careful with your speech, then your meditation will improve. They're linked. So it's not like they're separate things. Dana, Sila, Bhavana, they're all linked together. I was talking about gems earlier. You offer some gems or gold or something for the stupa. When you meditate, if you can already let go of some gems or something of value already, when you meditate, letting go is going to be a lot easier because you already know what to do. You've practiced it. So dana is not separate from meditation. If you practice dana, you share, you give, you're willing to forgive as well, forgiving people. When you meditate, already your mind knows what it has to do with many things. Because you have right view, some right understanding. Ajahn Chah, when people say, oh, it's so hard to become Arya Pugala, street winner, oh, it's so difficult. He said, just establish right view. Listen to the Dhamma, understand the Dhamma, just establish right view, and everything will come from it. Like a lantern, you walk, you need the lantern, so you can see where to go. You come into the room at night, you need to turn the switch on, get the light, then you can see where to go. That's right view. Once you have right view, everything else can come from that. Some people don't have right view. They meditate, but they only want to meditate to get rich, or because they want to be better than someone else, or occasionally even they meditate because they want to harm someone else. The wrong view. Some people are like that. If you establish right view, then everything starts to fall into place. You start reflecting, thinking back on your own behavior. What am I doing? What am I thinking? You notice things.
Yeah, so, that's a good point. So do we say that the 5 precepts of the fourth, just for my clarification, is made up of that 4 from the right speech under the Noble Vow, or is it just
In
that
the
one
5
of-
precepts, you can expand out. So you're practicing refraining from full speech, but really that includes refraining from abusive speech, malicious speech, idle chatter, includes.
And if that be the case, there are conditions for breaking precepts or for killing, for instance, as
Number one is lack of right view in that moment. You're not aware of karma and its consequences. Lack of mindfulness, lack of restraint. You know, strong emotions. So you say something or you do something often very quickly, so you're not able to restrain yourself. So the more you practice, the more careful you become, even though you may still have very strong emotions in certain situations. But you have a limit that you won't cross, a boundary you won't cross. So you may have some like, in the forest as a monk, sometimes you get a bullet or something quite that bites you, quite nasty, a centipede, scorpion, a snake, I guess. But something stings you, bites you, a wasp stings you, and you're really in pain, and so you might have this thought, I want to crush you because it really hurts. But if you understand right view and you have precepts, practice precepts, you stop yourself crushing it. You could crush it, but you don't, because you already understand karma and that's not the solution. You have enough restraint to stop yourself. Or someone makes you really angry, you tell them off, scold them, but you stop, because you know that's going to make some bad karma. It's not the way.
Would intention be not one of the criteria for the breaking of the precepts? Say, for instance, like we always say.
Well, you have intention come up, but then you may have another intention that counteracts. So you have the intention, I'm going to punch you in the face, I'm so angry with you. And then another intention says, no, don't punch him in the face. So you overcome the anger with some restraint. So it's not like you're not angry, you're angry. But you have another intention, you have mindfulness, wisdom, awareness of the path, awareness of karma, right view come up and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Walk away instead, stop yourself. Intention to break a precept may come up, but you counteract it by bringing up, becoming mindful in that situation, mindful of your precepts, what's right, wrong, the consequences of your actions. And this can follow on you one after another. So it's not like you never have anger, you never have greed or lust. You may see somebody, someone comes and flirts with you. It may be work or some situation, somebody comes to flirt with you and they're really nice, and you start to fall in love with them. And I got hubby back at home or wife back at home, I can't. And so that comes after, but it stops you doing the wrong thing.
We often seek forgiveness, for instance, from Mahadevia or whatever, and then we always say for wrongful
Body, speech,
thoughts,
and
yeah,
mind.
speech and mind,
Yeah.
intentions, right?
So you're working on intention as well,
Yeah.
but you have levels. So the first level of practice is sila, precepts, because that's what you can do quickly and easily. You can learn not to kill, not to steal. Whereas the intention line behind that, maybe that's a bit harder because you're angry or you're greedy. So you go away and you start meditating and reflecting and cultivating mindfulness and some wisdom to counter even the intention. Then the intention starts to fade. As you become, first of all, you establish precepts. And as you practice, you notice the intention to make you break the precept doesn't last. It's temporary. The thought to kill the mosquito is only temporary. If you don't act on it, you don't kill, that thought to kill starts to fade away from your mind. And then your mindfulness, your wisdom can say, see this intention, I don't have to act on it, I don't have to follow it. It's impermanent, it's anicca. If you bring up the perception of impermanence over and over again, you know, it's just a thought, it's just an intention, I'm not following it, I'll let it go. After a while, the power of that intention gets weaker and weaker and weaker until maybe it doesn't even arise. Mosquito still bites you, but you never think of killing. That's my bad luck. Mosquito, good for him, he got free meal. Just let it go, but you don't think of killing. The intention no longer arises. So like Sotapanna has right view established. So stream winner doesn't have that intention arise anymore. They purified the mind from the intention to kill, to steal, commit acts of sexual misconduct, to lie, to drink. The intention doesn't even arise. Simply by not engaging with it, you undermine it, weaken it, gradually it fades out. Practice.
Is there another question or else I have one last?
Keep going, it's okay.
Is making jokes part of frivolous speech?
Can be. You have to look at the intention. Like even the Buddha had a sense of humor, sometimes would smile or speak in a slightly humorous way when he's pointing out someone's mistake or their weakness. Ajahn Chah, we believe, is an enlightened teacher. He could use humor to help lighten people up when they're too stressed, too serious, and you lighten them up. Sometimes it's a teaching method. You convey some message or some teaching with humor. You make a joke. You say, oh, how silly I've been. You talk about something yourself or someone. You can use humor or a joke in that way just to help teach Dhamma in a very simple way. But when we're not very mindful, maybe we can't stop ourselves. Always, some people are always making a joke and they just can't stop themselves. There's no control. Or, of course, one danger with jokes and humor is it can often become very personal and a bit rude or a bit unkind, cruel. So that's the danger with jokes. If you keep doing it, you become unmindful that it can affect your mind. Too much stuff going on in your mind, you can become confused or very lost in different kinds of emotions. Or other people, maybe it doesn't help them, it just confuses them or adds to their emotions. So it's a skill. It can be okay and useful and helpful and kind. Maybe you break the ice or you help someone relax who's suffering. It can help. So it's a kind of metta. But it can also go the other way and become an unwholesome characteristic as well. So you have to be a bit careful there. Speech is like that. Speech we can use as to convey the Dhamma. We teach Dhamma, we express kindness, compassion, we help each other, we give information. So speech is a very useful tool. But it has its other side where it becomes a weapon. The Buddha said it's like your words become daggers. And you're just using your words to hurt someone or confuse someone. Maybe you're confused, so you spread your confusion through your words. So it's a double-edged thing, and by extension, technology is like that, isn't it? Like social media, phones, internet. it can be a very useful way to convey Dhamma and useful information, and we can help do things in the world. It can be a very useful tool. But if you open your eyes, you can see it causes a lot of suffering between people as well. So it can become a weapon.
There's no information that foremost amongst the eight is like with someone eating. Has been to us how do one cultivate the right view apart from having followed the truths and
But that is that Four Noble Truths is the heart of it. But how do you get right view? The Buddha says, one, listening to the good Dhamma from experienced, knowledgeable teachers, people who have practiced, maybe monks and nuns, maybe lay people, but hearing good Dhamma. It can remind you of things that you maybe know but you've forgotten. It can tell you new things when you listen to Dhamma or read Dhamma. This is our main source of right view from teachers, from sutras, from different reliable sources. Sometimes there are unreliable teachers and people telling you the wrong thing. That's one problem. But if you receive good Dhamma, then it stimulates you in the right way. And then secondly, internally, you have to bring it in and bring it up again for yourself. So things you've heard, you think about things in your day, as you go around your life. You remind yourself in different situations, what is the Dhamma? Am I going to break a precept here? You reflect on your action before you say something in case you're going to tell a lie or something, for example. You're internalizing right view by what we call wise reflection. Yoni Samvanasikara. Wisely reflecting on your mind, your state of mind, what you're planning, what you're intending to do. Reflecting on your actions, what you've said and done through the day. Was it good? Was it bad? What were the results? Trying to understand things from the place of Dhamma rather than just following emotions all the time. When we're not very mindful, if we like something, we want it, we go and get it. If we don't like something, we try to get rid of it. A lot of our time, our emotions are affecting us and we don't realize. We often do things not very wisely. We make mistakes and we do things that hurt ourselves, hurt other people. But if you train in wise reflection, then you start to become more careful. So one way the Buddha said, when he's teaching his son Rahula, and told his son, he said, before you do anything, that includes before you speak or even before you're thinking or holding on to a certain belief or view, reflect on it. What are the consequences of this? Is it going to be for my happiness, other people's happiness? Or is it going to bring some suffering? Is it going to cause trouble, suffering? Before you do anything, sit down and reflect on things. Get into that habit. Then while you're doing it, you decided to do this course of action. While you're doing it, reflect again. The second time. Am I sure this is the right thing to do? Is it going to affect me, affect others in a good way, bad way? Because sometimes you don't really know at the beginning, but then you try something, and then, or maybe this is the wrong thing to do, maybe. Or maybe you see it's the right thing to do. You carry on. And he said a third time, you reflect after you've done it, or said it, or even just what you've just been thinking. Reflect a third time. Was that good? Was that bad? Does it harm me? Does it harm others? Is it for my happiness, their happiness? So before, during, after. 3 stages, you might say. Because sometimes we don't really know until after the event. You go, oh, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. It's only later you realize. But that's still something. You get something from it, don't you? You go, oh, I really said the wrong thing then. But now you know after. Best of all is you're about to say, you don't know, I won't say it. You stop yourself. Or maybe there's something you should say. Don't say it. But maybe you didn't say it. So afterwards, you say, oh, I should have said this. but I didn't. Okay, now I know. Next time I'll say, before, during, after. So you get in the habit of reflecting and looking back at yourself regularly. It could be big things, like big decisions. Should I apply for this job? Should I go to this event? Should I do this? Should I do that? Or sometimes just very small things, just a passing mood. You're getting angry with someone in your mind. Should I hold on to this thought? Should I keep thinking this thought? And then right view comes and says, no, let this go. Forgive them, let it go. So it can be just a passing mental state that you reflect on. Something you say, something you do.
So the yardstick is always, is it beneficial for oneself, others,
Correct.
and then
Or not.
or not.
Yeah.
And then there is, this is considered under the Yoniso Manasikara
Yeah.
of
Correct.
wise intention, before, during, after.
Correct. But if you get in that habit, he was teaching his son, so he's teaching him a life skill. If you learn that when you're young, you get in the habit of thinking before you speak, before you act. Then you've got that through your life. It's like you've got a little bit of the Buddha with you all the time. You want to have all the answers, of course, you don't always know, but at least you've got a way to learn and to reflect. And you'll see, when you're very emotional and upset and very kind of strongly in favor of something or want something, you forget to reflect. Oh, you don't want that. You run after it. I don't want that. I hate this. Get rid of this. You're not reflecting anymore. You're just acting, and we make mistakes. We hurt ourselves. We hurt other people because we're not reflecting.
When a person has right view, can that person have wrong intention?
They can have wrong intention arise because they still have moments of delusion and they're caught into greed or anger. But if they have right view, they should see it quite quickly because they've learned to reflect. So they know, oh, this guy who just stole from me, he made me so angry. I really want to get him. And then another voice, the voice of right view says, well, hold on, if you follow this anger, even though he did steal from you, if you follow this anger, you're making more bad karma and you're promoting anger in your own heart. This is not good. Let it go. So you might have a wrong intention, but right view comes in then to teach you in that situation. And you see a lot of life is like that. The first thing that arises is not very good. But then the Dhamma, the right view comes in to correct your view in that situation. So it might say, oh, keep your precept. Don't go and have a fight with that guy who stole from you. Don't seek revenge and don't follow your anger, maybe. The right view comes in to give you the correct course of action, tell you to let go, tell you to be patient, tell you to look at it a different way. It just depends, doesn't it? But right view can come in after wrong intention. The mind is always different moments, isn't it? So you can have some good thoughts and then some bad thoughts and then some good thoughts again, one after another. If you're practicing Dhamma, you'll notice this all the time. You're constantly thinking in the wrong way and then something comes in to correct you. Don't do that, don't think like that, let that go. Or encouraging you to bring up something that you didn't have before. You should be a bit more generous, you should be a bit kinder, or you should just think about impermanence, that thing that's affecting you. It's impermanent. It introduces the Dhamma where before there was no Dhamma. The right view can come in even when you're deluded, then the right view comes back in to your thinking.
So that statement, there's always the statement, the mind sees the mind. Is it in this aspect?
If you're mindful, you see the mind, you're seeing it as not self. So you use that as a tool to help bring some detachment and dispassion towards maybe you have a strong emotion that's really affecting you. But you say, this is just an emotion, just a mental state. It arises, it ceases, it has its causes, its conditions, but it's not a person, it's not a being, it's not me. So this, when you have right view, it brings you back to a place of kind of peace, we say detachment, dispassion. You're looking back at yourself and what you're thinking and what's going on in your mind, but you're seeing it in the correct way. Another word for right view is correct. You're seeing things correctly.
So, does it mean that in every situation we should constantly be looking at the anicca anatta, and so as to train our mind towards detachment and dispassion?
Well, these are helpful tools, helping you look at experience maybe from a new way. But you can't necessarily use all three at the same time, even though they're linked. But Ajahn Chah used to say, probably easiest just to see the changing nature of things, impermanence, anicca. And he would say, just reflect on how things are uncertain, not sure. So like, when you have a strong emotion come up affecting you, and you're very upset, or you're very sad, you're very full of desire and greed, introduce this as a kind of a reflection or a perception. It's impermanent, it's not sure. So today you're greedy for this thing, but this morning you have strong greed for something, this afternoon it's gone. Or this afternoon you're very angry, this evening it's gone. It's impermanent. What is impermanent is not really a permanent self, is it? It's a temporary state of mind. A lot of the time you're just introducing a perception, a way of looking at something rather than just believing it, holding on to it. You just look at this mood, say you're very angry. Okay, you're angry, it's true, you're feeling terrible, but how long will it last? Like, at this very moment, do you feel angry? Do you? No? Good. Probably means I'm still okay, I can carry on talking. So if at this moment you're not angry, but in the past you have been angry, maybe many times since you were born. To this day you may have been angry many times, but at this moment you're not angry. You can just reflect like that. It's clearly impermanent. It's a temporary experience that we've had before, but I don't have it now. If it's temporary like that, it's clearly not part of who you are all the time. Because it's temporary, it's gone. You were angry before, but you're not angry now. Next time you're getting angry, if you can bring up this, remember this teaching, this perception, that you're getting angry with somebody or yourself, just say, this won't last. I've been angry before, it will pass. How long will I be angry this time? And already you're undermining it, you're weakening it, because you're bringing the Dhamma into your anger. You may be angry, you have the emotion, the feeling comes up, but this won't last. Because I know, because I've seen it before. This will help you deal with it. When we're not mindful, we're not seeing impermanence, we get angry, we believe it. So we become angry and we do things very destructive, we think horrible thoughts, and we do things and we make mistakes because we're angry. But if you can just reflect, this won't last.
This too shall pass.
This will pass. Maybe very quickly it will pass. It will help it go quicker. And that's good for us. You may still have whatever the problem was, whatever happened that stimulated the anger may still be there, but you're not holding on to that emotion so much because you see it or know it as impermanent. You might call this vipassana, seeing the impermanence in something, seeing the mind, seeing the state of the mind. You also, over time, you keep seeing something as impermanent. It could be a desire, or a big sort of belief in something, or some emotional state that comes up often, but you see it often as impermanent. You start to tire of always following that emotion, always becoming angry, or worried, or greedy in some situation. You get tired of it because you see it as impermanent. changes, it doesn't last. I don't need to keep buying into it, holding on to it. So you get tired of it, so then it doesn't come up so much. Your mind actually gets tired, so it steps back a bit from getting so upset with things, so much suffering. You start to understand that I shouldn't attach too much to this stuff because it just makes me suffer. But now I'm not suffering, you're more peaceful. When you're tired of something, you put it down, you let it go, you become peaceful. It's like, many people say that, I'm in the world, I want to do this, I want to get that, I'm going to get the job, and then I'm going to buy the house, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. They got a whole list of things they want to do. And then they start practicing meditation and vipassana, and they say, yeah, but even when I get that, it's just that much. You just feel good for a while, and then it passes, and then maybe it also brings a bit of suffering with it, or some problems with it. It's only so good. You start to see things correctly as you look at the impermanent nature of life. Physical things, your moods, your emotions. Then you don't want to chase after so many things. Maybe I don't need so many things to be happy. And your mind starts to be more happy from the inside without all these external things. Because the more we attach to on the outside, generally the more suffering we have. The more wealth we have, the more worries we have. The more people you have as your friends who've got to be popular and have a good reputation, the more suffering you have. You get tired of suffering, so then you realize you don't need so many things to be happy. Even one good friend is enough. You don't need 100 good friends. Or I just need one roof over my head, a small little roof is fine, I don't need a big roof. Bigger things is more to look after, more maintenance. Why are monks happy? You don't have to pay off the bills, don't have to pay a mortgage, don't have to do all these things. Happy. Easy. In the lay life, we're always thinking, I've got to get this to be happy. The very first year I was in Melbourne, one man came to the monastery, a young man, just finishing uni. I said, what's your goal now? You finish uni? He said, I want to make my first million. Reasonable goal nowadays. So, okay. Came back a few years later, I said, so how did it go? He said, I made my million. I said, well, what's your goal now? 10 million. And if you're stuck in that way of thinking, there's no end to it, is it? You get 10, you've got to have 100. You get 100, you've got to have a billion. Now 1 billion not enough, you've got to have 100 billion or trillion. There's no end to it. This is the nature of craving. Affects us. There's no end to it unless you start to see that it's impermanent, it's not self, it doesn't bring you contentment. And then you start tiring of following craving and you step back. It doesn't mean to say you can't earn $1 million. If you're skilled and you can do that, fine. But the important thing is the craving that keeps making your mind unhappy, discontent. There's no end to it if you follow it. There's no end. You get one thing you like, then you want another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. Or there's one person you don't like, and then you find another person you don't like, and another. Craving is like that. You're constantly moving and accepting and attracted to things, rejecting, wanting to get rid of things. No end. The end is the Dhamma. Right view. When you have right view, then you don't have to follow cravings. Well, Ajahn Chah used to say, just, you want to prove this, what I'm talking about. Get your favorite food, whatever your favorite food is, you know what your favorite food is. And you get it out for breakfast, eat it. I've got my favorite food for breakfast. I'm happy. Then you get it out for lunch. So you have your favorite food for lunch as well. Wow, this is so good today. Put it for lunch. Then you get it out for dinner. For dinner too. Wow, today is such a good day. Next day, same again. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Next day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. breakfast, lunch, dinner, how many days do you go before you get bored? Maybe even your whole favorite food turns into something you can't stand because you've had it too much. You don't want to see it again, whatever it is. Just don't want to think about it. I've had it too much. Why is that? It's because part of your taste buds can't sustain the happiness. And your mind can't find the same happiness each time. It gets less and less and less and less. After a while, it actually becomes annoying. Is there nothing else to eat? This is your favorite food. You should be happy every day, but you can't sustain it. So you get unhappy with it. That's the nature of the world we live in, isn't it? You're always looking for your favorite, thinking it will make you happy, but it doesn't last. So then you've got to look again, and then you've got to look for something different, better, more interesting, better looking, better tasting. There's no end until you die. The only end is you die. If you can see behind that the craving that's prompting that, then you got a chance to be free. If you get your best favourite food, fine. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. As long as you've got something to keep you going, it's good enough. It's like meditation, like Ajahn Chah used to say. People used to always complain and say, Ajahn Chah, I meditate, one day I'm peaceful, next day I'm not, thinking too much. What do I do? My mind always flipping like this. He said, it's all good. No such thing as a bad meditation. It's all good. You made that effort every time you meditate. That's a really good, important effort you're making. But of course the results are not always the same, depends. He says it's just like being a monk. One day you take your bowl out, you go out into the town, you come here, and they fill it up with lots of food, all kinds of nice, interesting food. Oh, great. Good meal today. Next day you go out and there's no one around. Plain rice. Come back, plain rice. Okay, next day, more food again, next day plain rice. Even though some days you eat plain rice, you can survive on plain rice. It's not the end of the world, you've got something to fill you up. Not a lot of taste, but you can survive. And some days you get more than that, so you can fill up on those other days. Meditation the same. So the day you meditate and you're not very peaceful, we call that a plain rice meditation. But it's still good, you can still survive. You just don't get the spice and the excitement of when you have a really good meditation. You have to learn how to practice like that regularly, continually. Good morning. Any more questions? Having a Q&A session.
Ajahn learned Abhidhamma before, right? Ajahn took Abhidhamma test before, right?
I did it for a little while, a year or two.
How much Abhidhamma that should we know so that we can, run simultaneously with the sutta so that
Depends on your character. Like some people really connect with it and find it helpful. It stimulates their wisdom, their understanding. Especially if you have a good teacher who explains how it fits with suttas and Vinaya, you can learn a lot. Other people just find it confusing or irritating, and they don't want to learn. That's fine as well. You don't need Dhamma learning, whether it's suttas, Vinaya, Abhidhamma, what we call pariyatti, the texts, the studies. It's for a purpose, it's not an end in itself. It's not like out in the world where you go to uni and do a subject and you want to progress to master's, PhD, and just keep gathering knowledge. The Dhamma has a higher purpose. It's to help you understand how to free your mind from greed, anger, delusion, the causes of suffering, to reach Nibbana. Nibbana is an end. So it's learning with an end in mind. And it brings your mind to a point where it's not creating suffering. So depending on your personality, your character, you see how much you need to learn of the text, study. Everyone needs to learn something. You need to listen to the teachers, read, but then it's to go on and practice. And so definitely you'll reach a point where sometimes you need to just set aside the technical knowledge and do more meditation where you're not reading anymore, and maybe you're not even thinking about it, contemplating, you're just cultivating mindfulness and direct insight. Ajahn Chah said, anger, when you read it on a page in a book, it's one thing, but to know it in your heart and to know it as impermanent, as not self in your heart, is another thing. So the study is for a purpose. It's not an end in itself. It's just to help you practice. So you see how much you need. Like, quite often I read one page of a book and then go off and meditate. It's enough just to stimulate the Dhamma and maybe give some reflection. Some people just want to read the books. And, I mean, that's okay, it's not wrong, but where does it end? If you're just studying for the sake of studying, then maybe we need to divide our time more into the practice as well.
Because when you're concentrating on reading a book, for example, Dhamma, right, it can be considered a form of meditation because we are not mindful.
And so a good test to do is like you read the page of the chapter, and then before you stop, you say, what did I learn here? Can I remember what I've read? You go back over it, remember what you said. If it's something for the Dhamma that you're really keen to learn and understand, you might go back and read exactly the same thing again. Because that's, the higher purpose is there. You're not simply trying to accumulate knowledge for the sake of it, or it's not just passing an exam or something like that. You're trying to learn so that you can improve your mind. So maybe you read the same thing again, you go over it again. Say like Ajahn Chah's talks, many people say the same thing. They say they can read them periodically, the same talks, over and over again through their life. And you can read a talk this year, and then in 20 or 30 years' time, you can hear or read the same talk, and you still get something good out of it. I started learning Thai by translating Ajahn Chah. I can still read those talks and get some joy and some wisdom out of them now, as I did then. And good Dhamma is like that. Same with the sutta. You can always get something new out of the sutta, words of the Buddha. So certainly study has its place and its role in the practice, but it's to go on and then practice as well. It's not an end in itself. Like you say, part of our training as monks, we do memorization. So we remember, we learn verses and sutras and parita, verses of protection, patimokkha, we learn to recite that from memory. And it's a meditation. You're learning a chant, or you're chanting a chant that you memorize, but there'll be moments when your mind wants to go away and think about something else. If you're on your own and you're chanting, your voice will stop because you let your mind wander somewhere else. And it's supposed to be chanting. You notice the voice has stopped. So then you have to come back to finish the chant. Even if you're with other people, you can notice if you're with other people as a group chanting something together, because other people are chanting, you maybe stop and you let your mind wander. So you're not looking after your mind really in that situation. So chanting is a kind of meditation. Practice mindfulness, exercise the memory, reflect on the meaning of the words. And this is how the early monks handed down the information. They didn't have books in the time of the Buddha. They recited from memory and passed that on to others. And it's a good way of mental training.
When talking about sutta, right, there are certain cases in the sutta, right, it seems like people who are womanizing, drunk, then just by listening to one statement of the sutta, then they immediately get relinquished, and some even become sotapan or second stage. How can that happen?
Well, probably one is they really believe the Buddha. They know the Buddha is wise, peaceful. He really understands and knows things. So they hear one word, it's like, they agree. It's like, oh, you're right. And that's enough for all the good qualities, the right qualities to come up, the faith, the effort, the restraint, the mindfulness, the wisdom, insight, all comes up because of the stimulation of the Buddha, very powerful, capable, compassionate teacher. They obviously have practiced to a point, maybe they only had a few slip-ups. They got drunk a few times, maybe. But generally the level of their mind is quite well developed, perhaps. And so just a few things and they hear the Buddha, it's like back on track. Well, like when I was a young monk, we used to do meditation at 3 a.m. every morning till dawn. So there's got to be some mornings when you're sleepy, you're nodding off. But then sometimes you'd hear the teacher go, just cough, or maybe even say a word, wake up. And you wake up, and one word from a teacher and your mind completely changes. It won't be like that every time, but sometimes it can be like that. One word and your mind brightens, the effort comes, the mindfulness comes. And then you maybe have a really good meditation after. And you can understand, sometimes all it takes is one word from a wise, compassionate person. It could be a parent, it could be a friend, it could be a Buddha. You hear that one word and it's enough to get you understanding what you need to do in that situation. It won't always be like that. Even with the Buddha, he could say, some monks are so stubborn. You teach them so many times, they still don't get it. So it's not like everyone is going well. Sometimes things don't go well. But it can be that quick. One word in the right direction and your mind understands or knows what it has to do.
So we can say that those womanizer or those drunk, their parami is stronger than those monks because one word, even one statement, two statements, then they can become Sotapan.
They must have made a lot of good karma and just ready, but at the time when the Buddha meets them, say they've fallen on hard times temporarily. It could be someone who's completely lost it and mentally unstable, like Ajahn. She has a very good foundation, but because of circumstances, she lost her family in a very short space of time. She's a mum, lost her kids, so she loses it, completely deranged for a while, wandering around, just lost to the world. But the foundation is still there, and the Buddha knows that because he's very smart, very sharp. He knows where people are at and what potential they have. We call it Indriya and Barami, Insi Barami. So this person, even though they're now very unhappy, very sad, very angry, very greedy, lustful, their underlying Barami or Indriya, their spiritual faculties are actually well developed. So just need a bit of prompting, they might realize. So for someone like Patachara, she had a period where she's just wandering around, lost her mind. And everyone treats people like that quite badly, usually. Shoo them away, no one gives you any love or support. Shoo you away, don't want you around. So of course it only gets worse. And then Buddha meets her, bring her in, give her a blanket because she's naked, sit her down. The equivalent nowadays we say give them a cup of tea, show them some kindness, compassion, and so she calms down. Oh, the first bit of compassion I've received for months or years. So now she gets the compassion, and then she sort of calms down, and the Buddha starts teaching, and he teaches on many levels. He's got the words, the intellectual teaching on the level of heart as well. He's got metta. And the power of metta from a Buddha is, fill this room, no trouble. Everyone feels good, calm. When you feel calm, you start dropping some of your attachments, don't you? Your defenses, your craziness, your emotions, you start dropping them because you feel calm. Then the Dhamma, the words of the Buddha start to penetrate, they start to make sense. And then some of that those good qualities you've had before start to re-emerge. It's like in Australia, every so often we have a drought. The weather is a bit unstable. Some years a lot of rain, some flooding, some years drought. So when there's a drought, everything goes quiet. All the grass and everything dies. The ground is kind of dry, dusty. It looks like, oh, this is hopeless. Nothing's ever going to grow again. But then later the rain comes and things start to grow again. You know, the potential is there. It's just temporarily it's all gone quiet because of the drought, lack of rain. The human mind is like that. You can have many good qualities there, but due to temporary circumstances, it's suppressed and not nourished. No rain, meaning no Dhamma. But then when the Dhamma comes, the rain comes, and things start to flourish again. That's why everyone wants to meet the Buddha. Most people want to meet the Buddha, not everyone. Unfortunately, some people get it wrong. But when you meet a Buddha, it's like, oh, that's like the best rainfall there is, the best nourishment there is.
So we need to wait until we tree up, come down.
You have a Buddha. Gautama the Buddha, even though he's passed away, his Dhamma is still here, still alive. We have Sangha, we have places of practice. We have opportunity to practice in this life. You don't wait for Maitreya, you do it now. Waiting for Maitreya is an excuse. And we love to have excuses. Any more? We got time for one more question. Yeah?
In the autobiography of Lord Goman, it was mentioned that Goman received his initiations from the previous Buddhas, past Buddhas, and they taught Lord Goman. So, is my understanding correct that the Buddha are still around, like they do not, they have ceased to birth?
You have to say that again. Visited by the Buddhas, and the question is?
So the question is the Buddha, the past Buddha and Arahant still around? Okay, even though they have attained Nirvana and they are no longer book recycle holder, and they can come and still give guidance. According to some autobiographies I read, some monks say that the masters still come back in a healing manner and back there. So, is it how true is this?
Well, one thing they also say about this is that it's really beyond words to describe. And this is the problem. You start talking about something like this, because words are inadequate to describe, everyone will start interpreting in their own way. And so some people believe, some don't, some say this doesn't match what the Buddha said. You end up with disagreements, not very satisfactory. So probably the best thing to do is keep practicing, develop your practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. Then you'll be able to answer for yourself. I know that's not a very satisfying answer. You want to get a bit more than that, but really that's probably the only correct answer. You can't dismiss it, you can't confirm it, because we're just talking, and it's just words. No one yet has experienced this. But my belief and my practice, I'd say, it's possible, but probably not in the way you think. And that's the trouble with our thinking mind. We misinterpret. Just one thing to remember is Nibbana. The Buddha said there's no limit to Nibbana. It's like the ocean, there's no limit to how many beings can attain Nibbana. When one being attains Nibbana, they're probably going to know who else attains Nibbana, in the sense if one Arahant meets another, or one Buddha meets an Arahant, they're going to be the best ones to judge if that other person is an Arahant. We as non-Arahants, we can't do that. So it's really something for Arahants and Buddhists to discuss and explain. Otherwise, we're always going to be slightly off. Words won't be quite enough. So reach Nibbana, then we can discuss it again.